Alright guys, so today is November 8th, but because of the snow that's currently falling on my region, it looks like it's December. But we're going to act like it's December just for a minute, and we're going to look back on 5 of my favorite moments from 2020 this year on YouTube. And I thought I'd talk to you guys about it because some of you guys have been around the channel for a while, and I'm always appreciative of your support, and I thought I'd make this video just to just kind of as a token of appreciation for the journey we've had so far on YouTube. And kicking it off with number 5, I'd say going up on that mountain river that one day in July, and I think it was called Fishing a Mountain River for Mystery Fish. Don't quote me on that, but I'll go check. But I think that's what it's called. Link is going to be up in the cards. But basically, me and my dad, and my dog Jade, who isn't with us anymore, but we all went up there, and we were fishing on this beautiful mountain river. And after a while, it was kind of shallow in that part, but we found this deep area, and so I cast it in, and I let my lure drift behind this big rock. And if you look at the footage, I hooked into a fish, and I couldn't identify it at first. I don't know why. I'd caught this fish before. It was a mountain whitefish. I haven't caught one of those in like a year. And the last time I did catch whitefish was one of my earliest attempts at a YouTube video. It didn't go published because I didn't think it was good enough quality, and I just really wanted a GoPro. And now I have one. That is what I'm recording on right now, is my GoPro Hero 7. But I mean, I hadn't caught a whitefish in a while, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was some sort of sucker, because mountain whitefish have these really funny mouths on them that look like suckers. So, and I knew there were suckers in my region, but I didn't know if that fish was a whitefish or a sucker. Well, it turned out to be a whitefish, because suckers in my region have this. They're dark colored. They're like brown and yellow, but this fish was definitely white and silver, so it was a whitefish. And then later in that video, my dad caught a fish that at first that neither of us had ever seen before, but it actually ended up being a northern pike minnow. Now, in the Pacific Northwest, northern pike minnow are a native fish, but they're also a trash fish because they eat every single other game fish, and yeah, they're kind of a problem. So we accidentally put that fish back. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was for like, I don't know, weeks and weeks after that, maybe a month. And we'd actually caught some in between when we caught that first one and when we found out, and we kind of felt bad for letting those 4 pike minnow go, because they're bad news. They're a problem. They eat all the trout, and it's just not good. But that day where I caught the whitefish, it was just so beautiful in the mountains. I love going into the mountains and fishing these cold water streams, because I know there's cool stuff in there. There's trout in there, there's whitefish in there. Pike minnow aren't cool, but they're in there. And just being up there, surrounded by big tall pine trees, and it's just, it can't get any better than that. The scenery is just wonderful. So that's number 5. That one, that video I believe got 35 or something views, but just a really fun one to make, really cool, and I'm glad we went up into the mountains that day. Number 4, it's hard to single out 5 of my favorite fishing moments of 2020 because there's just so many that I've had, but I'd say number 4 was the first trip I went to a private pond. Somebody we knew, friend of a friend, has a private pond, and they let us go fish on there back in August. The video actually came out late September, but I had that recorded in August. We caught 20 bass that day. A lot of them weren't on camera because the camera ran out of battery as we were catching all those fish, but I got a decent amount of them on camera. But I just never caught that many bass before, and most of them were quite healthy size-wise and chunk-wise. They were kind of fat. The biggest one we caught was like 2.5 pounds, and then the smallest one I caught just as the camera died, but it was like 3 inches long. I caught it on a little wacky rig. But just I had so much fun that day, me and my buddies, just casting out these super finesse bass fishing baits. It was just a great time. I mean, it can't, in terms of bass fishing, it can't get any better than just going out to this little pond that you never fished before, throwing a finesse bait into some cover, and then feeling the thump, thump, thump of the bass as he gobbles down whatever you're throwing. I was throwing jigs, wacky rigs. One of my friends threw a swim bait, caught one. One of my friends threw a Yoda worm, caught one. But just a great day overall. I threw like a Texas rig, caught one. Just a super great day of fishing. And just when you go fishing with your friends in the summertime, it really doesn't get any better. And I know I'm saying this on every single moment, but it's true. Can't get any better than fishing with people you care about. That does it for number 4. Number three, what to do? I'd say number 3 was bass fishing in the late summer. It was the August Mystery Tackle Box Slam. That was it. That was my first ever completed Mystery Tackle Box Slam. My only completed Mystery Tackle Box Slam ever to this day. And today is November 8th. If by some miracle I pulled off November's MTB Slam, I'll be surprised with myself, but likely not going to happen. Same goes for December, because it's snowing outside. But in August, I had a lot going on in August. Jade's health was declining. My dog, she was 14 years old, so at some point she was gonna go. But you know, we just tried to take her to all of our favorite places and just to make sure that we had a good time with her before she left. But that August Mystery Tackle Box Slam, Jade was having a good time at the park, just laying in the grass, watching me do my thing. And for some odd reason that day, the bass were biting. I caught one fish on the jig and craw, caught one on the shaky head and craw, and then I was having a tough time with the crankbait. It just dove so deep into the bottom of the pond that I was just catching like a pound of weeds on every single cast. But as a last resort, I fired a cast parallel to the bank, and I started reeling in, felt some weight from the weeds, but then I feel a thump, thump, thump. So I set the hook, and sure enough, it's a bass. And that completed the slam for me. I kind of roller skated it across the water at the very last second there, just because I was so excited, and I just cranked the reel. But I was excited. Just a great time overall. Learned something about fishing with jigs and fishing with shaky heads, and how not to fish crankbaits, where not to fish crankbaits. But I just had a good time. So number 2 comes in June 2020. I was working on my Mystery Tackle Box Slam, and I was using my bait caster right here. for the first time in a very long time. And I pulled it out and I started throwing the topwater around. The Strike Pro Swing Pop. I have since lost that lure, but I was throwing it around, trying to find where these fish were. It was barely just a couple weeks after post spawn, and I'd reeled the lure almost to the bank, and a little bass came up and followed it and chomped it down. I mean, I ended up losing the fish, but it's still my first topwater blow up ever. I'm not an expert bass fisherman by any means. Sometimes I look like one, other times I really don't. But then later that day, I was fishing with a finesse jig and a little crawfish trailer. I can't remember which trailer it was, but I was throwing it around, and I just made a cast to the center of the pond. I was working the lure back. I swam it for a minute and I dropped it. I let it sink again, jigged it, you know, I was working the bait again, and then I feel a thump, thump, thump. And so I just absolutely, I swing on him like he's a bluefin tuna. But it was my personal best bass. 2.5 pounds, not exactly a great personal best. Yeah, 2.5 pounds, not exactly the greatest personal best fish ever, but it's a start to better things to come. And considering I'm not a really great bass fisherman, not exactly a terrible personal best. Now to number one. This entire trip, this video was taken over the course of Labor Day weekend. It had been only 2 or 3 weeks since I'd lost Jade. I was down in the dumps. I was sad. I was lonely. But then we went on this trip with some family friends, and you know, we went down to this little river, this beautiful little river, and I started throwing my lure around, and I hooked into some fish, and it was just a really great time. Then the next day, me and my dad went back to the same river, different part of the river, and we caught a big old rainbow trout and a brook trout. And the morning before, the day before, while we were still fishing with our family friends, the morning of that day, I caught a cut bow trout. I thought it was a cutthroat at the time, but it was actually, upon further review, a cut bow, because it had red. This fish had red all over its head, but then it had this big red stripe instead of like a rainbow trout pink, so it wasn't a rainbow. It could have been a red band rainbow, but it was like this red orange, and red band rainbows generally have a darker, like cherry red. Anyway, cutbow trout, brook trout, rainbow trout, really ferocious fish. Caught them on single barbless hook lures, but my main takeaway from that trip was, in addition to all those cool fish that I caught, overcame all the hard stuff I'd been going through, and I just went and had a great time and caught all those fish with my dad and our family friends. That was the number one moment. That was without a doubt the number one moment. I have so many good memories that I'll keep forever from that trip. I'll always remember how going into that trip I wasn't feeling so good. I'd just been through the loss of a loved one, and just I was in a tough spot, but I came out of that tough spot by doing something I love with people I care about, and I overcame that adversity and caught me some fish. But that does it for this video, guys. If I have some cool moments, on, you know, this late fall, this winter. It looks like winter right now, but it's still early November. But I will revise this video. Well, I'll make a new one, obviously, because this one will already be public. I'll make a part 2 to this video, basically going over 5 more of my favorite moments from 2020. And if you'd like to see that, please be sure to leave a like. And if you'd like to see more cool videos, please be sure to subscribe. But apart from that, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next episode.